Hey there, welcome back to the channel. So quick update on Bitcoin today. I'm going to keep this one a bit shorter because honestly not much has changed. But today Bitcoin closed at around 108,000. We're still in this sort of consolidation range. And if you're bored, if you're frustrated, if you're, checking the charts every hour waiting for something to happen, perfect. That means it's working, right? So today I'm going to show you why, this boring price action is exactly what, in my opinion, we need to see sort of happen before the next major move. So let's dive in. In last week's video, I said we'd likely see Bitcoin continue to trade around this 105 to 120K range for quite some time. And we're still at around 108K right in the middle of that range. So we hit the 104K low a couple days ago, and we bounced back to around 108K today. We're still below that short-term holder cost basis at 114K. But more importantly, we're holding above 100K still. And that's exactly what sort of a healthy consolidation phase looks like for Bitcoin. We're not making any dramatic moves up or down. We're just chopping, building a base, and letting the market sort of digest this recent price action. And if the price tests lower at around 100K, I still think the Bitcoin bull market is still intact. Every bull market has these phases, right? So 2017, we had multiple 30% corrections before the final top in Q4. 2021 had that summer correction in summer that drove basically everyone crazy for a while. And then, here we are again. We've seen multiple 20% to 25% corrections right in the middle of what feels like, paint drying. So here's why I've been calling this boring price action bullish. So the on-chain data is still showing little signs of market capitulation. So if we look at this chart, the supply and profit versus loss, so basically tracking the circulating supply of Bitcoin at each day, we can calculate how much of the supply at any given time is either in profit or in loss. So right now we have about, I think it was about 82% or so in Bitcoin in supply in profit. So, and about only 18% in loss. So that's increased from I think it was 78% yesterday to 82%, even though the price only went up about 1 to 2%. The overall supply and profit increased by 4%, right? So in real bear markets, right? So in 2018, in 2022, and in 2015 and in 2011, we see this flip dramatically, right? So in supply and loss starts to increase over 50%. So more than half of Bitcoin holders are in loss, right? So that's the difference between these mid-cycle consolidations where the loss only goes up to around, say, 20 to 30%, and 35% we saw in 2021. In 2013, we saw it go up to around 30% in loss. This cycle, we've only seen around 30% and around 26% respectively, and around 11% recently. So there's a sort of difference between, these mid-cycle consolidations and bear market lows. For example, in bear markets, people are forced to sell at losses, and right now most holders on chain are still in profit, and they're just waiting, right? So for those of you who have been following along, this is one of the pro on chain charts. So it's called the cost basis convergence chart, and so this basically tracks when short-term holder cost basis, long-term holder cost basis, and the overall market realized price are either converging or diverging. So right now we're sort of in this, we're sort of still in this red distribution phase, right? So basically means the spread between these cost bases is widening as new buyers come in at different price levels. And the key thing here is distribution periods like this, we can see go on for quite some time while the price is actually still going up. And this is totally normal during bull markets, as we've seen historically. And the blue accumulation zones mark when holders are accumulating, right? So red is distribution and blue is accumulation. And the convergence lines here, so these rainbow lines sort of, these mark when identifying bottoming phases. So this is when all holders are basically converging around the same price. Basically everyone's, break even point, right? So we saw this in 2022 where these cost bases converged. And we saw it in 2018, in 2015, in 2020, 2011, essentially every bear market bottom, and we're nowhere near that convergence right now, and we haven't yet transitioned from the red zone to the blue zone, right? So you can see this occur in 2017 where we transitioned from distribution to accumulation. That sort of marked a good area of interest as to where the bear market was beginning and where the bull market was ending, right? Similarly, in 2021, we saw this occur at around the price of 43K. So it went from distribution to accumulation and then back to distribution as the price went up to the new all-time high. And then we saw sort of a phase shift from distribution to accumulation for the last time at around 46K. And then subsequently, we saw that bear market bottom. And then it subsequently transitioned again from accumulation to then distribution. And that sort of marked that low period for Bitcoin. So this cycle, we've sort of seen a couple of phases, right? So we've seen major distribution phases and then accumulation phases, back to distribution, back to accumulation. And now we're still currently in sort of a moderately weak distribution phase. So it's nothing that we saw back when we hit 100K for the first time and when we hit 72K for the first time. We're still in sort of a weak distribution phase if we look at it from the spread, right? So we can see this is the spread velocity, so the spread between the cohorts, right? So it's on a percentile z-score. So right now we're still in sort of a not really overheated territory. So again, on-chain data across these different cohorts still looks healthy for right now. And so there are sort of two scenarios just to wrap up the video that I'm looking at. So first scenario, and this is the one I've been leaning towards in my videos, right? You don't have to agree with this. You can do whatever you want, but this is just my opinion. So my opinion is that we continue consolidating in around this 100 to 120K range for potentially weeks. Maybe we test 105 again, maybe we don't, but eventually I think we get a confirmed breakout above 120K. And once we break and hold above 120K, that sort of opens the door to retesting the short-term holder cost basis at around 114K as support, which by then may have moved higher, right? So, and then pushing towards new all-time highs above 126K. That's the sort of Q4 rally scenario, right? And then second scenario, which is less likely right now to happen, in my opinion. I think this would more materially occur probably early 2026, but still possible to occur now, of course. We break below 100K and we hold there for a couple of weeks. We can't reclaim it, and that would be the first major warning sign that the cycle structure is changing. And we would see this play out in metrics like this and in other metrics on chain, right? So that's sort of something I talked about in my last video. And if that happens, I'll be reassessing, the data updates every day. But right now, the on-chain data doesn't support that scenario. It still looks like consolidation, at least to me. And as for timing, I still think we'll see a sort of confirmed resolution by late October to November/December. That's when Bitcoin has historically made its big moves. So more sideways, more boredom, more frustration for people who want basically, instant gratification, instant volatility, either in up or the bottom direction. That's fine. That's healthy. Consolidation is what markets do, especially as Bitcoin grows in market cap. It's going to have less volatility just by definition, right? So in my opinion, what I'm doing is nothing right now. So seriously, I'm not over trading. I'm trying not to panic. Don't try to time every little move in this market. Just wait for the market to sort of do its thing, right? Watching for confirmed breakouts above 120K or breakdowns below 100K. Those are the two levels I'm watching right now. And until one of those happens, we're just chopping around in this range. And I know this isn't the most exciting video, though. There's no dramatic price prediction, no shocking revelations, but it's just Bitcoin doing Bitcoin's thing as we've seen this cycle, building this base that we've seen it chop around for quite some time. And, sometimes the best updates are the boring runs, because boring means the bull market thesis is still intact. Boring means, no major capitulations just yet. Boring means, we're exactly where we should be in the cycle. So stay patient. If you want to track any of these metrics, the website is 100% free, except some metrics, but most of them are free. You can track them for free at chartinspect.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll hope to see you in the next one. Bye.